Hi Jay, how
Hello.
are you doing today?
I'm good, thank you, Danny. How are you?
I'm good too. Just to tell everybody that this is Jay. He's been my spiritual partner, friend, bro for the longest time now. My spiritual journey sort of started alongside him. That's when he came into my life and I learned Reiki from him. He's a Reiki Master also. So he taught me Reiki. And that's when the journey of my spiritual endeavor began. And that's why today this session or this podcast, whatever you want to call it, is extremely special to me because Jay is here and I'm going to be talking to him about bhakti. So, bhakti is the topic for the day for this episode. So, Jay, do you want to share some insight on what bhakti really means to start with?
Bhakti. So bhakti means literally devotion to God, and bhakti yoga meaning it's union through devotion to God, or it's union through love with the divine, essentially.
Wow.
And it can take many forms. People think of bhakti and they think of Hinduism, but you have even in Christianity, Jesus. You could say he was a bhakta because he had love for God. Muhammad, love for God. It's a very kind of widespread thing, not just linked to one religion. So yeah.
Interesting. So, what comes to my mind when you said how in all of these religions, in all of the religions that you just mentioned, like, Christianity or Islam or Hinduism, in all of these, the one common thing, the thread that's there is devotion, the aspect of devotion to this entity that people perceive as God. So, what is your sort of perspective around this term God?
God. God. So God is absolute infinity. There's a nice word in Sanskrit. I forgot the phrase, to be honest with you, but they call God the cause of all causes. And so what that means is, if we use logic to deduce things. So, for example, I had this conversation with you, or this podcast with you, because you like invited me on. But then that happened because maybe you had you thought, okay, like let me do this. But where did that thought come from? Like it was caused by something, until we get to the end, which is the cause of all causes, God. And that applies for everything. So yeah, that is God. And I think the beautiful thing about bhakti is being in a relationship with this cause of all causes. It's this ecstatic love you get, and that you kind of build on, and yeah, it's beautiful. It's the ultimate relationship.
I just
Oh my gosh. What? Say what?
I just see you smiling, and when you just said like cause of all causes, that was literally what was going on in my head, that I need to play that because oh my gosh, say what? Because for me, literally, cause of all causes reminds me of like a mirror dimension. It's like infinite mirror dimension, right? Like mirror after mirror after mirror. Like I remember watching Doctor Strange, and that was the first time I was introduced to that concept, right? So for me, it's like behind all of the reflections that you see in a mirror, there's one object or one subject that's standing there to be reflected in all of that. So that subject or object would be like the source of all the causes or all the reflections that you see. And I think that's my perspective. Like for me, God would be this entity there's this song, okay, in India. I think I would have shared it with you. It's called Kun Faya Kun. So basically it translates to be, so it is. So just your being, and it is that, like God is that, or whatever the void or nothingness would be is that. And actually this entire statement, like be, so it is, you cannot even explain it. Like I'm trying to explain it right now, but it's sort of inexplainable, right? So the song, the Kun Faya Kun, it also has this line in it which says jab kahin pe kuch nahi bhi nahi tha, so wahi tha, which basically means that when there was nothingness, I mean, jab kahin pe kuch nahi. So when there was nothing, bhi kuch nahi tha. Oh my God, I'm getting confused. But basically the idea, the translation, I'm not able to translate it from Hindi to English. But the idea was that even before nothingness, there was a nothingness. And that was him. So the origination was him. So which is also very, very similar to what you just said. But the idea is that he's nothingness. Like even before the Big Bang, whatever that there was him, like God. So that's what I sort of like take back from it. But then what my mind is bringing up right now as a question that I want to ask you is that, say if God is nothingness, then why would people in religion like give it like a form? Like why would you think that is the case? What's your take on that and perspective on that?
So with bhakti, in Hinduism especially, bhakti is considered that God is in form. They would say the nothingness and all of that is Brahma expansion. There's like 3 levels, they would say. There's the Brahman realization, which is that God is everything, we are everything, we're all part of him, we're all one. And then on top of that is that God isn't just everywhere, he's also like right here in your heart, localized right here. And then he's like guiding every living entity. And then we have Bhagavan realization, which is that God, they would say God is in form. I'm still, to be honest, learning myself, and I guess I can't say I really know. I guess my mind isn't designed to know these things, but through experience, I can definitely say, like, I can see the strong arguments for both camps, whether it's nothingness or whether it's a person. You know, some religions, I guess the most accurate thing I can say is some people believe that the nothingness stems from something, a form, and other people think form the other way around, basically. But
yeah. I mean, to be honest, when conversations like these happen off lately with me, I sort of get to this space of speechlessness. Like I don't even think that after a certain point where when somebody tells me that the concept of nothingness and everything and nothing, it's like sort of debatable, and you cannot really know until you sort of have like a lived experience or an insight or a glimpse. I sort of reach this space of that I don't have any questions left anymore to ask, because and I think that's the state of nothingness for me. And maybe from that space, when there's no thing, right, like I have no questions at all, I don't know if that state will last, you know, because if I'm still a living entity and I'm in this physical body, I feel like some other day I will have some other experience, and my curious childlike self would emerge from within and be like, oh, but what about this? And then for me, that would be everything, because then there are so many questions. We are so curious about what, like I think about life. And I think for me personally, in my perspective, that's where devotion also stems from. Like devotion stems from a space of curiosity for me. Like it did for me on my journey. It did not start from a place that I was born into a Hindu family and I was taught, you know me very well, right? Like, you know how my family and how I was raised, so liberal, right? Like there's no concept of being taught about religion. So I feel like that's where it stemmed from, curiosity for me, not conditioning.
No, yeah.
So what's your take on curiosity and conditioning when it comes to the idea of devotion? Do you think we're born with it, or like it's something we pick up, or something that we start liking? Like what would it be for you?
I think people come to spirituality or to God for different reasons. Some are conditioned into it, and they're just kind of told like you have to do it. But others slowly, even for example in your case where you weren't really like made to do anything, your parents are quite liberal, and then other people like you where they came into it through just genuine curiosity, like there is something more. Why am I seeing 1111s all the time? Why are all these synchronicities happening? Like this isn't logical. And then I think, yeah, that childlike exploration, like you say, that is the absolute key. That is the absolute key, because then you're loving, like if it is bhakti, the path that you go down, your relationship with God is out of like, I'm here with you because I want to be here with you. Nobody told me to be here with you. Like, I'm here for you, kind of thing. So yeah.
Yeah. Wow. I'm telling you, like, I think after every time that you say, like, give me like your perspective, I'm sort of like speechless. Like, I feel like, what else should I ask him? But I think that,
oh yeah.
What were you saying?
Oh yeah, no, sorry. I wanted to rewind as well. You were talking about reflections and mirrors and stuff.
Yeah.
One big thing in bhakti as well is this. I guess it's the ultimate reflection, and that it's that bhakti means devotion to God, and so it's about serving God. But the ultimate reflection is He's also serving you. He's very much on your side. He's not looking to judge you, to condemn you, to anything like that. He's your friend, and he wants to help you purify, to grow, so that you can actually get more out of life through him, through your relationship with him.
Yeah. That's interesting. It also reminds me of my childhood. You know, when I was like 1 year old, I used to tell my mom that I'll do everything on my own, to an extent. Like in Hindi, I used to say, Dolu ape khayega. Like I will eat on my own. She would teach me how to eat with a spoon. And I was just 1 year old. And I think being an independent person was like a part of my being from like childhood. But I think somewhere in the middle, I got lost due to all the attachments, and became like very dependent. And that's why I think even when it comes to like the idea of spirituality and the idea of God, I was never dependent. So for me, the way that I viewed devotion and bhakti, was also some sort of dependency. Like I am dependent on an external factor like God in the mask, or say devotion. Like for me, even the devotion was like a mask that I would say carry to probably spiritually bypass. But for me, because I was that independent self, because I was never that person who was conditioned for devotion, or who was curious also about devotion, to be honest. I was never that curious either. It was because of the synchronicities that I started becoming curious about spirituality. So for me, bhakti and devotion was never about being devoted to an external entity. Even if it was very masked, and I'm going to be very honest about it, because I never wanted to give the power away to an external resource, to an external source that I don't even know if it exists or not in the first place, right? So for me, very, very honestly, the only person that I have reached this place in my life where I'm like that I cannot, like the only person that I'm devoted to these days is myself. Like, okay, and for me also, I feel like after a certain point of time that I glimpse that, somewhere I am God myself. And there's a God in me, and I am God, and I am the form, and I am the shape. So the one person that I need to be devoted to is myself. Because like you said, God is serving us, right? So for me, I'm serving myself, and in return, I'm also serving the beings that surround me. So for me, having an external entity to sort of worship to and be devoted to never made sense, And till date, I know I'm very devoted to Krishna as like a deity, which is the entire idea of Sarthii, right? Companionship. But even when it comes to Krishna, I see it like as a symbol. I don't see it like he's God. Like I see it as a symbol of preservation, or like a tool that I use to sort of help myself be devoted to myself even more. It's almost like a soft toy for my inner child to hold on to while I go off to sleep, because it just makes me feel safer to have something externally like a form to hold on to. So what do you want to say about what I just shared? Like, did anything come up for you, like any perspective on the idea of dependency, masking, spiritual bypassing, anything like that?
So in terms of dependency, I think with the relationship, it's very much a case of if anything, you become less dependent on the material world. So as you like practice bhakti, whether that's through chanting, devotional songs, reading like scriptures, anything like that, you slowly purify, and then attachments and all those things kind of fall away. So in that sense, you become less dependent on the world. But I understand you were talking about dependency on an external creator. If anything, for me, it's fostered surrender, and surrender in a way where sometimes surrender can be scary, but a lot of the time it's beautiful. It's like you have a massive mountain to climb, like a massive cliff face, and God's there climbing it for you. You're just on his back. He's just saying, hold on to me tight and I'll do the rest, and he does the climbing. And for me, yeah, that it helps to cultivate surrender, because I can definitely still to this day kind of verge on like control and that kind of aspect. And I know whatever spirituality, like whatever spiritual path there is, surrender is a big part of it. And I know there's lots of ways to kind of surrender, but with bhakti, it's like that. It's surrendering in a relationship.
So do you feel like then it can be used like an excuse to sort of not take the necessary action? Like, say for example, you're on God's back and he's climbing the mountain for you. Like, think about that as a metaphor.
Yeah.
Probably you'll just be in this space of waiting sometime also, when would God come and take me on his back and make me climb the mountain, because then you're giving your power away as a human being of action to God, probably. So a lot of times I myself have faced this in my life, where I say that, you know what, the timing is not right. Maybe my intuition says that I'm not supposed to do this right now, but these days, considering I'm working a lot with karma yoga and like karma yoga, where I'm taking a lot of action, and that's just my source of power of lately. I feel like sometimes when I'm practicing like taking action a lot more than before, I feel like this is it. Like, this is what it is all about. Like, I'm not supposed to give my power away to waiting for God to come and give me like a ride on his back, like a piggyback ride. I don't know.
Yeah. Hey. I think we all have the choice. So in Krishna consciousness, for example, their belief system is God does most of it, but it's still ultimately your free will that gets to choose whether you choose God or not, whether you choose to hold on or not. But in the same way, even in the Bible, for example, it says faith without works is dead. And then again, like sorry?
Can you repeat that? Faith without
works is dead. So you need to have action. It can't just be like, I'm just gonna wait for you to do this for me. And then same with Bhagavad Gita. it says that you should not be attached to the fruits of your action. So the work is very much your business, and that's where you come in. And with bhakti, it's like this is what I've got to do, and I'm doing it out of love for you, God. But whatever the outcome is, that's yours. Like that's where I surrender. I'm just gonna give it my best, and then the outcome is yours. So it's kind of action, but surrendered action.
What I'm also hearing is that then bhakti and devotion would also not mean that you are blinded and ignorant and like so totally into love that you lose your sense of self to an idea of God that he's doing everything, but instead take ownership and accountability of your action, and in a way that you're detached to the outcome, which is again what Krishna says in Gita. And that's how you lead from a space of faith. So the idea of faith in this, the idea of faith here would be the devotional aspect, or the idea of detachment, or the idea of surrender of the outcome. Or say, for example, after a certain point of time when I'm extremely tired, like these days, I know I'm overworking myself. So even becoming aware of the idea that I'm overworking, and at the same point of time I'm frustrated that I'm not getting the desired results, would be where the idea of surrender would be plugged in, or would be the space where detachment to the outcome would be plugged in. So then my probably the teachings of bhakti, or my own innate idea of devotion would probably step in to help me out. And that's just my sharing and my perspective around it, what you just said. I also want to ask you something. Like, I know you are somebody, I mean, by the way, just to tell everybody, Jay stays in London, but his roots are from India. So, and he's been visiting, he's been going for kirtans at ISKCON, right?
Yeah, ISKCON, yeah.
Yeah, ISKCON. And he's been doing that consistently for a really long time. He's read, I think, have you read all the books like Gita? And
too many religions for that, but read a few.
but you've read Bible, and you have read
New Testament, the Quran, the Gita.
New Testament and Quran and Gita. Wow.
Some of the
Great.
Upanishads and some of the
And
Vedas.
And Vedas. Oh my God. Yeah, I remember.
Palms
Oh
of
God,
God.
that phase where there was a phase, okay? So there was a phase, let me tell everybody. There was a phase in Jay's and my relationship where he was reading all of these books, and every other day when there would be, we would have like our own satsang on WhatsApp chats. Like, he would literally like text me with the idea of, okay, this is what it said. Like, and he'd screenshot and send me a photo of the text and the quote or whatever. And then we would just go back and forth as to what is your point of view, what is my point of view. So literally, it's like the perspective room started like years ago, even before this conversation is happening here with Jay. So yeah, what I was telling everybody was that Jay has been going to ISKCON for kirtans for a really long time. So Jay, can you tell us a little bit about the experience that you have? Because I know that's devotion in action. You're going there, right? So considering we were talking about devotion and action both, can you share a little bit about how does that feel like for you in action?
So the experience of kirtans, they're like, so basically it's kirtans are congregational chanting. The music, it's like musical mantra meditation. And the place I go is called Studio 108 in London. So it's not actually a temple. It's run by the temple, but it's almost like an outreach project, just to introduce new people to spirituality, or who are just looking for something different, into bhakti, basically. And kirtans are another level. There, I've meditated for quite some years now, almost a decade, but I've never felt anything as powerful as kirtan for myself. It seems like every time like life's got a struggle, or life's throwing something at me, go to kirtan, and I think I just feel loved. like very, very, very loved, or I feel very, very, very in love with God. And whatever the problem is, even if logically you might think, but what's that got to do with anything? It just seems to disappear. It's magic. They say the mantra. They call Krishna Hari, which is the dispeller of darkness, and that's exactly what I feel kirtans do for me. They dispel darkness. Yeah.
So when you said, I love it when when you're talking about all of this and you smile, like you have this tiny little smile, micro expression on your face. I think 2-3 times you've had it while being in this conversation. I think people will notice, but it's beautiful because you see how, like, that's how impactful the journey has been for you, right? And that you find these tiny little glimpses of sweetness and the nectar that where it does make you smile even for a tiny little second while talking to somebody and telling them and sharing them your experience. That's amazing. What I was saying was that when it comes to the chanting experience, like there's a mantra that you chant, right? When you're at the kirtan, right? The mantra is, I guess, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare, right? That's the
something like that, yeah. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
The other way around. Yeah. Okay. Nice. So, I remember when we were on a trip to Vrindavan. Okay. Another thing that I can tell everybody is that I think last year Jay and I went for a trip to Vrindavan for about a week, and Jay was there longer than me. He stayed for 1 more week, and when it comes to my chanting experience at ISKCON, and I had never been there before. I think only once did I go there before you, but it was never like a proper kirtan experience for me. I think when I went with you was a proper kirtan experience where I sat there and I chanted for like hours, and I remember, oh my God, I was sobbing. I was sobbing and sobbing and sobbing.
Denise had her first kirtan.
I was like, oh my God. Don't ask.
Angry, didn't you?
Oh, why? Oh, why?
I wanted to do that. I'm sorry. But yeah, I was just sobbing. You were saying?
It brought up a lot of anger for you, if I remember right.
Oh, yeah. Oh my God. Okay, so my perspective on devotion in that moment when I was at the kirtan, and for me, the entire experience was that I was clapping. First of all, number one was the clapping, which actually generated so much heat in my hand. It was like vibrations were going down my body. It was crazy, okay? And the second thing for me was the music, because there was a certain tempo and certain rhythm to the music. Like, because they were playing different instruments. There was the person chanting the mantra. So I think, and it was a repetitive mantra. It wasn't like it kept shifting every couple of seconds. I think the entire sound system was very like on a similar wavelength the entire time. And the other part of it was that even though, which is exactly how I feel usually during like the times when I feel lonely, that even though there's a world full of people, why do I feel lonely? I think for me in that moment, everybody was I was surrounded by so many people, right, who were there, who were worshipping Krishna, who were bowing down to the idols, and then people were also chanting. But in that moment, even though I was surrounded by so many people, I still felt like I was just by myself. And I think for the very first time, I did not feel alone from a point of view that I have nobody and I'm feeling lonely. But instead, what it did for me is that yes, it's true that even though you're surrounded by people, you do feel lonely. But even if you chant that mantra, if you listen to the sound, they become your friends. And then in that moment, when you have friends that are not maybe physical human beings, there is something out there that's holding on to you. And I think in that moment, I became really very vulnerable. Like vulnerable, where I realized that I have nothing to hide, I have nothing to mask, and I can literally lose myself to my own self, and just those friends that I have in the sound and the mantra, then my mind does not need to work anymore. I think the mantra, that was what it did for me. Like, I did not have time to think. And then when I did not have time to think, I felt a lot of anger. Because I think anger is that one emotion. Even when I go to palmists, okay, like 4 days ago, I went to the palmist guy, and he said that one thing you really need to take care of is your anger. And the other thing that you really need to take care of is your gut. And the saddest part is that in India, or I don't know, in other countries as well, children are taught not to feel anger, you know. And even if you feel it, you're not taught how to express it. And when you're expressing in the way that you're expressing it, you are told, instead of teaching the child to probably express it in a different way, we are taught to suppress it.
Yeah.
So I remember as a child, I had a lot of anger. And I think in that moment when I was at ISKCON and I was experiencing all of it, is when I just poured and poured and poured. And I think and the most beautiful part about a spiritual partnership, I feel like, with you, and I'm sure other people will resonate also, is that there's this innate understanding. Like, I still remember that even when in that moment I was crying, like, you knew what it meant to be, like, to leave me alone in that moment, because it was a moment between me and God, and you were having your moment between you and God. And it was like you did check on me like every, like, maybe half an hour or 45 minutes, because you have experiences before and I did not. But still there was this innate respect. And it's not only you, to be honest, everybody in that space, nobody came up to ask me that, hey, why are you crying? You know, like, usually when that would happen, people would come up to you and say that, oh, don't cry, why are you crying, stop crying. But no, people respected it over there. They said, nobody asked me. I think after like 1.5 hours of me pouring is when one guy came up to me and asked me that, enough, it's okay, you don't need to cry more. But apart from that, nobody stopped me. And I think that was relieving.
Yeah. That's what it does. It about when you're talking about suppression. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita as well. He says, "What can repression accomplish?" It's very much, the mantra brings up all of these, all of the samskaras in us, all of the darkness in us. And so whilst kirtan can be like absolutely ecstatic and devotional, and you could be dancing, there can also be times where you're feeling he's bringing up anger, guilt, shame, all of these things, and he's clearing them away. And yeah, there's what you were telling as well about everyone's having their own experience kind of thing, but everyone together. It's you might have seen it. There's like a picture of Krishna in the Gita, Krishna, sorry, and he's dancing with all these gopis, and he's multiplied himself, and all the gopis at the time, they think, you're only dancing with me, oh my God, you're only dancing with me, but he's dancing with all of them at once, having his own like ecstatic relationship with each of them. And it's just beautiful to. There was this famous kirtaniya in Vrindavan. He's passed away now, but he always used to sweep the floor before he'd do kirtans. And it's because the way he saw it is, Krishna will be dancing with us, so we need to make sure that the floor's clean. It's just, yeah.
It's beautiful. I think every time that I hear stories about bhakti, it's beautiful. So apparently in Hinduism, and they say, and a lot of stories are going about around how Vishnu's last avatar will come on planet Earth. Right? And that would be the time when the earth would be deserted, and there are all sorts of like stories around it, how it would be the end of the world or the end of the era, and that's when he would come and rescue, right? Because he's a preserver. And that's how it has been in all the mythological stories. What's your take on that? Like, have you heard stories around it when you're at probably ISKCON or at Studio 108 or wherever you go?
So like Kalki, I guess, about God coming back to restore Dharma, restore righteousness to the world. So as far as I know, I don't know much on the topic, to be honest with you, but as far as I know, we're in Kali Yuga, like the age of darkness, and it gets darker and darker and darker until eventually God comes, Kalki, and he's meant to bring light. That's the belief, and then restore righteousness. Basically, people forget what's important in life. They forget their relationship with God. They forget, they prioritize things like money, sex, gambling, clubbing, all of that stuff, and then slowly it leads to degradation. We become less happy and we don't know why. We become less fulfilled and we don't know why. And we chase all the wrong things and forget what's actually most important. So the idea is that Kalki comes down to remind us what's important.
Yeah, that's really interesting because and I think that's how much that is exactly as much as I know. But I definitely in my perspective, I see that happening. Like, I see the degradation happening. I see how people are losing touch with themselves. And I think that's the entire idea of Sarthii, this community platform, was that in togetherness or through podcasts or sharing people's stories, there can be some awareness or some conscious movement around the idea that, hey, listen, wake up, you are losing connection with yourself. You are not connecting with yourself anymore. And what would it mean to be in connection with yourself would be connecting with your emotions. Because I think bhakti is an emotion. Freedom is an emotion. Bliss is an emotion. And if, say, anybody in the spiritual path wants to be enlightened, they would have to feel enlightenment. Because again, like, it's an experience, and that experience leaves you probably in a state of bliss or gratitude or whatever it may be for you, but it's a feeling, is what I feel personally, and that's the way I perceive it. And I think the more that there are external distractions that are available in the world from a space of providing human beings providing themselves with convenience and ease. The ease is a mirror reflection of the ease that we need to build within ourselves. Like, I think we need to take it easy from a space of surrender, from being detached to the outcomes, the things that we were talking about, right? That's the kind of ease that we need to develop within our being, inwards. No, but it's actually happening the other way around, externally, because it needs to happen externally first to probably show you the mirror that, dude, this is just a reflection. You're actually supposed to do this inside of you. Or the other way around, that this is what is happening inside of you and I'm showing it to you outside. Do you really see? So it's kind of trippy, but I think that's the trip that we're all upon, that we're all treaded upon. That's where we're all headed. But ultimately, I think it's all about being connected to your emotions that is going to restore the righteousness in the world, because righteousness would start with you yourself and you being righteous to yourself first. And because you're the drop in the ocean that needs to get sorted first before the entire ocean gets sorted. I don't know. Like, there's a saying in Hindi which says, "Boon boon se sagar banta hai." It's literally like every little drop together makes up the entire ocean. So if you're a drop in the water, you need to work your water molecules out to probably have like a clean ocean or a beautiful ocean that you'd want to dive deep into. I don't know. Or surf the waves off, whatever. I don't know.
You can't help any, like, I suppose it's like being on an airplane, right? Where like they say, like, in case of an emergency, fasten your own seatbelt first before helping other passengers.
Yeah.
Like that. Yeah.
So that's the entire reason why, you know how I was recording a podcast for Sarthii, right? So I recorded like 15 episodes, but I sat on it on top of like a treasure chest for about a year after the recording was done. The entire reason behind that I can think of as of now, apart from that, how people would tell me that, you're just giving yourself an excuse of not doing it. But I know from within it was not an excuse for me. It was that I myself am not ready. And I was just being very honest with myself that I'm not ready, in the sense that I myself don't feel safe enough in my own body, in my own experience of reality, to probably step outside into the world and tell people that, I am a medium of probably something like sharing information with you about safety. When I'm not myself safe, it's almost like I'm trying to preach what I don't even practice, So even though it took me a year, but I made sure that I get on with it at the right time. For me, whenever that is for me. And I think devotion in that aspect, bhakti in that aspect, really played an important role for me, because if I wasn't devoted to that inner voice, and I wasn't devoted to myself, I would have been, and which I was in between, I wouldn't lie, influenced by other voices. That's one question that I really want to ask you. Like, there's so much judgment around bhakti, devotion, worship to God, in our generation, or maybe the generation that's younger than us. What's your take on that? Like, how do you view that?
How do I view just, I guess, perceptions on bhakti?
Yeah, and the judgments around it, probably.
Yeah, I think with any spiritual community, anything like that, any sort of practice or anything, like we were talking about suppression will cause people to, it will only cause bad outcomes. If you're in a space where bhakti is practiced and you're able to ask questions, you're able to get doubts addressed, you're able to genuinely question it, so you can actually think, yeah, I actually agree with that, I resonate with that, then that's a sign of a healthy kind of community. But of course you can get other communities where it's like no questions allowed, like just do as we say kind of thing, and then that does invite judgment and people feeling alienated, and like it's not the intention of what the organization was actually created for, kind of thing. But I think wherever there's ego, there will be corruption, and everyone in any organization, any religious or spiritual organization, they'll have some ego, and that will inevitably cause even the slightest bit of corruption. But that's the world we live in, and the important thing is to just kind of keep up with our practice, keep up with our sadhana, and
yeah, that reminds me of cults.
Yeah, cults.
Like, there's so many out there, right? Like, I know I have been a part of so many personal developmental programs and workshops. Oh my God, you asked me, I've done it. For all the popular things that are there in the world by popular gurus, I've done all of it. I've experienced all of it. I wouldn't say that I've done it like a sadhana of like being dedicated. I never did that because I was skeptical. Very, very skeptical of it. Again, the aspect of giving my power away to somebody else, right? Like, or some practice that probably I don't even feel that good about. Like, or even if I try like, you know how my path has been. Like, I've tried one thing and it helps me with this one aspect of my life, and then I switch on to the next, because maybe I am a rainbow being, right? I need different colors, or I need different tools than one particular single tool to probably address my self. But the idea of cults would be very like people imposing it on you, that you need to do this. It's like survival. I feel like then survival is not freedom. Like, if you're just like running around behind your survival, that's you being afraid of something. It's not really freedom. That's like people imposing things on you. What's your take on that? Like cults and people imposing things on you to do something a particular way.
Yeah, I personally, yes, go with what resonates for you is the biggest thing for me. Cults can control through fear. So a lot of it is like don't listen to the outsiders, like they, and then there'll be like some sort of judgment, some sort of collective ego where it's like, we're good here, but those guys there, don't go to them because otherwise they'll corrupt you, kind of thing. Or they'll suppress critical thinking, like whenever you start thinking, but what about this, and then it can cause, again, like if you're not allowed to say these things, then again it's a sign of a cult. But I think one important thing is that cults, it's important not to throw the baby out with the bathwater. The cult was created, or rather the organization was created, because something true was actually in there. Whether that's something like, for example, it's possible that the Maha mantra, again, very, very perfect mantra, and I think that's very real, and from your experience that you were sharing earlier, and then my experiences as well, like it's a very real thing. But then what humans decide to do around that mantra can, again, it can create cults. It has the potential to, because humans aren't perfect. And so yeah, cults are a very, very interesting issue, very, very interesting thing, because because they're centered around something very true, but at the same time, it's just a lot of fear and control.
It's complex. So what I do hear from you is that devotion, like I've also heard stories around how bhakti is going to be, and the devotion is going to be the most helpful in Kali Yuga, right? Like most powerful than any other tool. Like, and for me, why that would be the case is because it's all about love. Because at the end of the day, if you're not able to suppress, if you're not able to express your emotions, or if you're not able to feel them, if you're not able to cry, if you're totally in darkness, I think that light is love that makes you feel warm enough to probably stop shivering and just, cozy up, cuddle up, and have a good night's sleep. So I feel like it's a beautiful sort of an experience to feel loved, and that's what bhakti would give us. But at the same point of time, bhakti also, like a mother, would teach us to have our own sense of discernment, like not taking candies from strangers. It's almost like that when you probably would grow up a little bit from that mother's womb and that kind of a love. For me, bhakti is not only say Krishna consciousness, but also would mean Kali consciousness, which is like Krishna's feminine version. A lot of people in mythology have stories around Krishna Kali. So I definitely see that she's also a divine. He also has like a divine a feminine aspect, like Shiva has Shakti. So for me, it's like a mother's womb. That's that warm, that unconditional love that you feel from the mother. And you sort of like, when you grow up and you're probably leaving that womb and you're going out into the world, that's when you need to have that discernment. And I think we all are taught that in our childhood, to have that discernment. But I think that discernment is out of a space of fear. It's very external. But I think when bhakti, what it taught me personally was to have that discernment not out of a space of fear or not from a space of trying to protect yourself, but to probably listen more to yourself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Then, and find that worthiness within to sort of obey your own inner voice, your own judgment, wisdom, rather than seeing that reflection in the mirror that might appear as a candy, but actually would make you lose your path somewhere. So yeah, that's what I feel like when you spoke of discernment and bhakti together. That's what I hear.
Yeah, I mean, they say bhakti is obviously in a relationship. There's two people, and so whilst there's God, there's also your Atma, the Satchitananda, the eternal, which is eternal knowledge and full of bliss, or true self. And that being full of knowledge, that is our discernment, like you're saying. And I think bhakti can connect us to, the practice of bhakti can connect us to, I guess, things like discernment, being guided from within, from the Paramatma as well, from the God within us.
Yeah. So, okay. So to wind up the conversation that we had today, I think we did discuss quite a few things around the idea of bhakti. And I think it would lead people to a space of curiosity, of maybe giving such things a thought, or what would you say to a person who's probably listening to this conversation, if they were to probably ask you as to why do you think I should try the path of devotion to help myself as like a tool, probably?
I would say that regardless of whether you choose bhakti, whether you choose another path, whatever it is the case, God loves you, and you can very much be aware of that love through bhakti. But whether you choose it or whether you don't choose it, it's important to know that God loves you, and that love is life altering. Realizing that level of love. We have like human relationships, and we have love for each other, like boyfriends, girlfriends, and husbands, wives, sons, brothers, sisters, and those are beautiful, beautiful, loving relationships. But God's love is it absolutely times 100, times 500 is the love that God has for you. And to choose bhakti would be to kind of go down that route and see what's there. Oh yeah.
That's so nice. So I don't know, that just made me feel so warm. I also personally just want to like give my perspective to people, is that when it comes to devotion and bhakti, I feel like Jay said, even if you don't choose the external path of bhakti to probably going to a temple or going to a kirtan or going to a satsang or probably joining some spiritual community, does not matter. I think at the end of the day, the one person that probably you need to be devoted to is you. So you make yourself feel that love every single day by probably spending time with yourself. And I think time, Krishna itself is time. So I feel like preservation is time. So the more time that you give to yourself, it is your currency, it is your wealth, it is your abundance. So spend time with yourself like you would with anybody you are devoted to, be it your family member or be it your partner, be it your sibling, like you are devoted to your work, be devoted to the time that you spend with yourself apart from work. It's like you, your adult self, giving time to the child that's in you, and like you being the mother or father to that child. So it's very, very important. And I think that itself is devotion, that itself is dharma in a way which cannot be explained, but only experienced, at least in my point of view. And another thing that I just want to add to close it up, sorry, is that I was just, when you were talking, Jay, about bhakti and choosing the path, that Maya Angelou was coming in my head. Maya Angelou, when she was really, really old, you know Maya Angelou?
No.
I'll send you her video of this stand-up poetry that she did. Oh my God, brilliant woman she was. She said in one interview that, oh my God, I'm so grateful that to be loved by God. Like and she was crying, and I think she was like 80, 90 years old or something like that. And in that interview, she was like, oh my God, this feeling everybody should feel, sort of a thing that, you know, that every single moment of your life, I don't know, what did I do to be so loved by God? And I think if you can feel like that by going to a temple, by attending a kirtan, or by probably reading scriptures in the act of bhakti, or by worshipping an idol, I think whatever works, just do it. Like, just do it, just be with it. Because I think, again, coming back to so be it, like, it's just that. So just experience it. And that's life, and it's beautiful. Oh my God, I'm feeling so grateful in this moment to have this conversation. So thank you so much, Jay, for this. I really hope that people take something back from it. Whoever is into this subject and can hear mine and your point of view, and probably see what kind of things they want to have in their life from it by taking back from it. So yeah, bye everyone.
Bye bye, guys.